Howdy fixers. So today we're going to be talking about how to, well, be cheap. So main reason, like years of driving, different rigs and stuff like that, you try to figure out the cheapest way to get by, or what are the main things that are essentials when it comes to keeping your rig going down the road. Um, Obviously, there's oil. You always want to make sure that you're always doing an oil change, because the oil is always the cheapest thing that you can do on any rig. So it's $40 basically. Now, any days you can probably do an oil change for $20, but anywhere from $20 to $40. Do an oil change, new filter, keeps your engine happy, keeps it clean. You don't have to worry about a whole bunch of sludge buildup or anything like that. That's the main thing you want to do. Next thing is that you want to start factor in some kind of your safety things. So if you haven't done your brakes in a long time, you might want to start thinking about doing your brakes, because that's a safety concern. If you're driving down the road and you press on the brakes when you're having an emergency situation, when your brake pads are at the minimum thickness, or below minimum thickness, or metal to metal, something like that, where it's not allowed to stop quickly when you need to, that's a safety concern. So that would be something that you want to check. And so for most parts, you can do a brake change for anywhere from, you can probably pick up some pads, OE ceramic pads, around $50, and then brand new rotors. You want to do brand new rotors because it's just as cheaply as getting them machined or anything like that. So about $150 for front brakes, and you can probably do the rear brakes the same thing if we're talking disc brakes in the back. Drum brakes be a little bit different because shoes vary in price and stuff like that. Plus, drums are fairly expensive compared to rotors, because you can pick up rotors for like anywhere from $20 a piece to $50 a piece, and drums are usually about $50, $70 a piece. I think it's usually about there. But just with rear drums, I'm just talking about front brake pads, because that's usually what you change anyways. Because when you do, what does it usually do, about 2 or 3 brake changes in the front for every rear brake, because it's like 75% or 60% of your braking is in the front, and the rest is in the back. So that's how it works out. So after you've got your safety concerns out, that's brakes. I don't have it up here, but tires is another one. You can get by with cheaper tires, but that's kind of my forte. I don't do tires, so I don't know too much about that kind of stuff. But to me, next thing that you probably want to look at is either a timing belt. If you have a timing chain or something like that, usually the timing chain, once it goes, that's when it goes. Unless you have some noise or anything like that, not a whole lot of manufacturers recommend a timing belt interval per se for change, like to do with the timing belt. Timing belts, they change because of different weather, heat, or anything like that can be detrimental on the rubber that keeps your teeth on your timing belt. So that's why they recommend a change interval for each belt like that. So that's what my next step would be. I would want to make sure I keep all that stuff happy, because you don't want to be driving down the road on something you depend on, and when your teeth on your belt comes off and you're SOL. So you want to try with do a time belt. You're like a kit or something like that, you probably pick one up for like $500. A kit, a full kit, that's water pump, that's pulleys, that's everything, and that would get you going down the road. Another thing is coolant flush. Coolant flush is a big one. So if you don't do a coolant flush, I could throw a picture in here. It looks like rusty mud, and it's basically because you didn't do a coolant flush. It's if you don't have the right mixture of water to coolant, which is 50-50, somewhere in there, it can actually rob you of horsepower. It can eat your engine block. Most engine blocks nowadays aren't, they say that everything's coated like it's supposed to be, sealed like it's really good sealant and stuff like that, but they're not sealed the greatest stuff. Some of your older rigs, like your Fords, a lot of your older Fords, like I say a lot of your Rangers, you're really hard pressed to find a mid 80s Ford Ranger for 84 all the way up to like 90s, I'd say all the way up to 2000, that didn't have mud in the radiator, just because a person wouldn't stay on top of the coolant flush. Plus, it has a lot to do with electrolysis and stuff like that, with different metals, with aluminum and steel and stuff like that. It makes acidic electrolysis, and it breaks down the metal inside. So that's why you have to have the right coolant mixture, so it helps keep the electrolysis down, that it does not turn your coolant system to a giant battery and eating everything away. So that's what my next step would be, make sure that your coolant's good. Tune-up, most tune-ups and stuff like that on cars, so you're looking at like under $200, because nowadays any car all they have is spark plugs. You don't have wires, you don't have, you got coils, but sometimes you have to replace coil, but for most coils anymore, they're just coils. If you have any problems finding stuff, you go online and give you an idea what you need. But back in the day, even with a cap and a rotor, PCV valve, wires and stuff like that, you could probably, if you were just buying it and you weren't going through a shop or something like that, you could probably get it for like around $200. Next thing on, so depending on what you have, so if you have an automatic transmission, you want to make sure that you get it flushed, check the filter and stuff like that, check your fluid. There are some people that say that, flushing a car that's never been flushed, you can have issues, which is true, because it cleans out all this dirt that's, the magic dust that's keeping everything alive, and you flush it out, and then you start to have issues down the road. I haven't ever really had to experience that quite much with our customers' vehicles, but it's just, it does happen. But basically you can get like a filter kit, which is like $20, and you can get all the filters, so you could probably do under $100 depending on what type of fluid you have. If you have to use like Deck 6, like some kind of synthetic automatic transmission fluid, you're not going to be in this range, you're going to be a little bit higher. But other thing is, if you have a manual transmission, that is, with a manual transmission and stuff like that, you're basically, as long as you keep the engine going, the manual transmission is never going to crap out on you unless your clutch gives you trouble. But if your clutch gives you trouble, it's, you can replace that. It's no big deal. It's not on this keeping you alive thing. But so if you're on strapped for cash, these are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things I would worry about. On top of, if you had tires or something like that, then you could worry about tires. But I'm sure you could find tires fairly cheaply somewhere, especially like on Amazon or where everyone gets their cheap tires, or like even when Walmart used to do tires, like they were cheap. So I hope this is helpful. I hope I'm not just babbling. I wrote all this down. I figured it was going to be a good little idea to try to help someone prioritize what they may want to do with their money, what's more priorities. But priorities are always safety and your ability to keep going, and reliability, because if you can't rely on something, why drive it? If you want to get in your rig and take off and go, 100 miles or some vacation with your kids or with your family, you need to have a reliable car, even if it is a $400 car. Because, I've driven thousands and thousands and thousands of miles, and I've never paid over $400 for a car. So, thanks for watching. If you like this video, please give me a like, please give me a subscribe, tell a friend about it. Check out the old Patreon and the Facebook and the Instagrams down there at the bottom. And if you have any questions, just give me a comment down below, and hopefully this is helpful for somebody. So, thanks for watching, and have a good one.